right, and it is being live streamed. Super excited. Hey there, Chris. Thanks so much for joining us today. Hey guys, today we are talking mortgage strategy with our new friend, Chris Ledwidge. So super excited for that. So I'm gonna look in here in the comments. I'm looking for all who can hear me, all who can see me. Go ahead and give a few thumbs up, some hearts, the happy faces, all of the things. I just want to make sure you can hear me before we get started, because otherwise we'll just be speaking to ourselves. And I see we have a company. Hi there.
You've been spotted.
Yes, I see. I love it. I absolutely love it. Let's assume that all is good. Let's go ahead and get started. So Chris, the reason I am super excited to have you with us is because many of us are looking for strategies. Many of us are looking for strategies and we're plotting our next move. How do we get into the real estate game? How do we get into our next or first short-term rental when our options may be limited? How do we assess one loan versus the other? What's out there? What's available to us? A lot of us are just busy healthcare professionals. We purchased our first home that we live in. I've had the blessing of encountering short-term rentals in 2019 and was able to exponentially grow our portfolio. But a lot of folks on here are new. They say they don't know where to start. And I really believe the funding is one of the cornerstones of getting started and getting set up correctly. So I wanted to have you on here. And what I told a lot of the members is that part of that strategy is understanding what is available. So Chris, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself to the people, and let's get this conversation going. And guys, definitely ask your questions. I can't see them, but Christian is here and she is going to help us to make sure that she can send those questions to us. So get started. I told you to bring your questions, so I hope you did.
Thank you for the introduction. So my name's Chris Ledwidge. I'm one of the co-founding partners of The Lender. And my job within the company is the retail division, bringing our loan products directly to the consumer. And I think I gain most of my satisfaction working with either new home buyers. I've been in the business now for 12 years originating loans. I first started working with home builders like KB Homes, Lennar Homes, DR Horton Homes, working with a lot of their home buyers. And where I really felt most confident, or that I was bringing my best use to the consumer, was working with new home buyers, because they have lots of questions. So definitely ask lots of questions today. But what I'd like to start off with is let's talk about the DSCR loan product. I want to talk about the underwriting philosophy, what it takes to pre-qualify for that loan product. We're going to talk a little bit about rates, and we'll talk about all the things that are important to know about that product. And then we can roll into when and how to decide what loan product is best for your needs. And then if there's a little bit of time left at the end, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to shop your lenders and get the best deal you can. So DSCR, what does DSCR mean? DSCR stands for debt service coverage ratio. And with a DSCR loan, we are not looking at any of your personal income or employment when determining the ability to repay the loan. Rather than looking at your personal income or employment, we're looking at the subject property's rent potential or ability to debt service the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And what we're looking for is a 1-to-1 ratio. We want to see that the subject property can produce enough rents to cover the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Assuming it does, and also assuming that the borrower themselves have a good, clean credit history, and we meet the down payment requirements on the loan, we move forward. It's rather simple in that context. Now, let's take a little bit deeper dive into how do we determine the rent potential on the subject property. We could do that one of two ways. We can either do that through a short-term rental income analysis, or we can do that through a long-term rental income analysis, okay? Now, in order for us to use the short-term rental income analysis, the individual on the loan application must have a 1-year history of owning and operating short-term rentals. If the individual does not have the 1-year history of owning and operating short-term rentals, we will use a long-term rental income analysis to satisfy the 1-to-1 ratio. Now, when using short-term rental income analysis, we'll use tools like AirDNA to determine the rent potential on the subject property. And we're not just looking at the rent potential on the subject property, we're also looking at its occupancy percentages, and we're also looking at the seasonality of the subject property, as well as the average daily rents. And we want to see a market grade on the subject property of a B- or higher, meaning the subject property is in a short-term rental market that has a market grade of a B- or higher. And we're looking for an occupancy rate of greater than 60, along with enough rent potential to cover the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Now, if we were to use long-term rental income to satisfy the 1-to-1 ratio, we would order what is called a rent survey. A rent survey is a form that is performed and completed by the appraisal at the same time that they do the appraisal on the subject property. And what they'll do is look at 3 subject properties or 3 comparable properties to the subject within the proximity of the subject and average those 3 long-term rents to determine the long-term rent potential on our subject property. Again, we're looking for that 1-to-1 ratio. The minimum down payment requirements on the DSCR loan here at the lender is 15%. You do get a better interest rate when you do 20% or more than the 15. And let's talk about some hypothetical and do some rate quotes at 15% down and 20% down. Now, this would be under the assumption of a 15% down payment with a credit score greater than 740. You have 3 loan terms available. You have a 7-year ARM product, a 10-year ARM product, and a 30-year fixed. With the 15% down on the 7-year ARM, you're looking at an interest rate of 5.125%. The 10-year ARM would be 5.375%, and the 30-year fixed would be 5.5%. There is no mortgage insurance when doing 15% down. If you do, in fact, there's no mortgage insurance at all, ever on a DSCR loan. Now, if you were to do 20% down, those interest rates that I just quoted improve by 1%. So your 7-year ARM would be at 4.125%. Your 10-year ARM would be at 4.375%, and your 30-year fixed would be at 4.5%. Now, this week, we are rolling out 2 new loan term options for the DSCR loan product. Those 2 new loan term options are going to be a 30-year fixed with an interest-only option. Now, the interest-only option might be for the investor that is concentrating on cash flow potential, and they want the lowest possible payment on that subject property. If you opt into the interest-only period, you would have 10 years of interest-only payments, and then over the following 30 years, the loan would be amortized over principal and interest payments. And there is a fixed option for that. We do also allow an interest-only option on the 7-year ARM or the 10-year ARM. And again, that would be for the individual or the investor that is focused on cash flow, right? They want the lowest possible payment so they can maximize their cash flow on this investment property. Now, the DSCR loan is considered a business purpose loan, right? For non-owner occupied properties, meaning this is not like your conventional Fannie Mae products, which we'll talk about in a little bit. This is purely a business purpose loan, which gives you the ability to take title on the subject property in an LLC, or you can do it in a irrevocable trust. There are some people that are setting up trust out there that want to carry their properties through trust. So you can do it in an LLC or in an irrevocable trust. Another important thing to understand about the DSCR loans is the prepayment penalty. The standard prepayment penalty on our DSCR loan is 5 years. And what is the prepayment penalty amount? The prepayment penalty amount is 5% of any additional principal payments made during the prepayment penalty term. So let me give you an example. If within that 5-year term, you were to make $100,000 in additional principal payments, 5% of that would be subject to penalty, so $5,000. Once you're outside of that 5-year term, you can make as many principal reduction payments as you want. You can refinance it, pay it off without penalty. Now, let's talk a little bit about fees here at the lender. Our typical origination fee on these DSCR loans is 1 point. We have a $1,995 processing underwriting fee and a $599 document prep fee. We do offer a 0.5 point discount off of our origination fee for various Facebook groups like this one here. So if you are a client that finds us through this Facebook group, and you mentioned that when communicating with myself or one of our mortgage analysts, we will knock down the origination fee from 1 point to 0.5 point. Typical turn times, this is a question I receive a lot. Typical turn times on the DSCR loan is about 45 calendar days. Much of that is predicated off of how quickly we can receive the appraisal. Now, if you're, let's say you're buying in the Smokies. The Smokies right now, we're seeing about an average turn time of about 3 weeks from the time we order the appraisal to the time that we receive the appraisal. California, we're seeing 2 weeks. Florida is about 3 to 4 weeks. Georgia is close to 3 to 4 weeks as well. Alabama, Gulf Shores area, that's about another 3-week region. So I'm quoting about 45 days on the standard as far as turn times on these loans. Type of properties that this DSCR loan will work for. It works for single family residence. It works for condos. It works for townhomes, duplex, triplex, and quadplex. Any questions so far? Anything that you want me to pause or clarify or expand on?
So let me check to see if we have any questions at the moment. This was a lot of great information. So no questions at the moment, but it looks like we have a few people. Hi, Deanna. Deanna's a staple with us every Tuesday night. Appreciate you being here. We have several watching, over 30. Individuals that are watching. Just want to say hello. Thank you for the thumbs up, the hearts, everyone. I see you, Janie. Janie says, I'm interested in getting started in STRs. Well, you are in the right place, my friend. Heather, oh, good. Heather made it. Heather said, that was a lot of information. Yeah, I try to take some good notes too, Heather, but I have a little surprise at the end. I think I'll spill the beans. Chris is going to be with us in the group, the Facebook group, to go over some of this step by step by baby step on our Thursday call. So I'll definitely loop you in. But if you have a specific question right now, feel free to place it in the chat. And then we will go ahead and get that question answered. But I agree, it's probably going to be a list of notes to make sure that you can go through the steps, understand how Chris and his team are evaluating the properties. I thought it was really interesting, Chris, because one of the first things we do when we're looking at market analysis is for sure look at AirDNA as well as some other tools. So guys, you're in the right place. You already know AirDNA. Annette says my fingers cannot keep up. Wow. Okay, so guys, Chris is here with us. We're going to slow him down and let me know what parts. Hey, Quay, I see you. Hey, Adrian Newbie, welcome, my friend. This is where the party is at. Oh, we're getting some. Chris, look, they're going to want us to do a about face reverse turn, and we are happy to do that. So first specific question is, what is considered a B- market, Chris? So again, I know you were talking a little bit about AirDNA, but let the people know what is considered a B- market.
That's a good question. So when on AirDNA, when they determine the market grade, they're looking at saturation of STRs. They're looking at occupancy rates from a kind of a global view, right? What type of occupancy percentages is AirDNA seeing as a whole in this particular region? What are the average daily rent, ADR, average daily rents on those properties? And based off of those metrics, AirDNA is going to assign a market grade to the region that STR exists. And obviously, when you have maybe a higher ADR, higher occupancy rate, those are things that are going to contribute to a higher market grade.
Awesome, awesome. So this is a great segue. If you do utilize the AirDNA tool, which I highly recommend, you'll see the grade listed there. For instance, I know when I was checking during the summer, the Gulf Shores area was rated at a B+, right? So what Chris is saying, B- or better is what he is looking for in particular. So it's that grade that AirDNA gives the market. Hey, Chris, you know something I didn't look at? Does that grade vary significantly from season to season, or is that grade like an overarching annual grade? I wonder. That's not something that I looked at, honestly.
The grade, that's a great question. The grade on AirDNA is determined by a 6-month look back and a 6-month prediction. So it's taking into accounting the seasonality of the subject property.
Awesome.
And assigning that grade. And I'll mention 2 things there that are going to be maybe helpful resources for everyone on the call today. What I'm going to do, again, we're covering a lot of information here. This is, you know, everyone's that's in this group has probably done 1, 2, maybe 3 mortgage transactions in their life, but DSCR is different, right? You got to wrap your head around a lot of different things here. We're not looking at your personal income. We're using the subject property, and it's going to be a lot of information to try and digest in, you know, one Facebook Live group here today. So what I'm going to do is in the Facebook group, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to post a link to our calendar. If you click on that link, and you can schedule time with me or one of my mortgage analysts to specifically discuss your situation and vet out all the questions that you have yourself. So that link I'll post that in the Facebook group later today when we're done with the call. And also, as it relates to AirDNA as a resource, we are at the tail end of integrating AirDNA services into our website. So you'll be able to visit our website and run the rentalizer reports and get AirDNA data directly from our website on any subject property that you might be interested in purchasing. So that'll be a standing resource that you can get your hands on, and I'll share the link to that specific webpage as well. So we have the DSCR product, right? This is an investor-specific type of loan. Let's talk a little bit about, you know, the Fannie Mae loan product and when to choose. When does it make sense for you to pick one or the other? Now, what I'll say is the Fannie Mae second home loan product is a very good option for the aspiring STR investor. Okay, and recently there were some changes made by FHFA on something that they call loan level pricing adjustments. And what that simply means is that they've added fee to second home mortgages with Fannie Mae as of April 1st of this year. That fee at 90% is an increase of 4.125%. Now that's not rate increase, that is fee increase. Now 4.125% increase in fee translates to about 1 to 1.25% in interest rate. So you're going to see those second home mortgages hovering in the mid to high 4s here pretty soon, right? All the lenders out there that are subject to this FHFA change are going to start changing their pricing models for second home mortgages in advance of that April 1st deadline. Okay, but at the end of the day, if you're still in the mid 4s to high 4s, that's still a very good interest rate on a 30-year fixed, right? Now, in my opinion, I feel that most people, and we're speaking with a specific audience here that are going to be typically high W-2 or high wage earners, right? Mostly healthcare professionals, and those are good income jobs. Now, depending on your debt to income situation, you might have plenty of room left on your DTI to leverage a second home mortgage. And what are the advantages of second home over DSCR? Well, second home at this point in time allows for 10% down, as where DSCR allows for 15% down. That 5% difference is credible, okay? Another difference that is pertinent between the Fannie Mae and the DSCR loan product is the prepayment penalty. There is no prepayment penalty on the Fannie Mae second home mortgage. There is a prepayment penalty on the DSCR loan product, okay? Now, why would one choose to use the DSCR loan product over the Fannie product? It might be for a reason that they want to close this transaction in an LLC. Fannie Mae doesn't allow for that, right? That might be a reason. The individual might want to take advantage of more flexible loan terms, like a 7-year ARM with an interest-only option, because their strategy might be lowest possible payment. There might be some circumstances that almost dictate for you the necessity of a DSCR loan. Those circumstances might be you have reached your max debt to income ratio on a Fannie Mae product. You might be looking at buying another vacation rental in the market that you're already established in and you've already used a second home mortgage. You're not going to be able to get a third loan for a second home mortgage in the same proximity. Essentially, the underwriter is going to look at that and say, well, we already have one over here. Why do we need yet another vacation rental in this area? So there are circumstances that will dictate DSCR necessity over Fannie Mae loans. My advice to you is to extinguish all your DTI and options with Fannie Mae before moving forward with the DSCR, simply maybe because the lower down payment. I think the prepayment penalty is a big advantage. And as it relates to interest rate, you'd have to be in the 20% down range on a DSCR loan to get those rates that are going to be in the low to mid fours, right? So those are my opinions on when comparing Fannie to DSCR. Okay.
I love that, because that is the question, right? Why one versus another? So thanks for highlighting those points. Those are some of the things that, we all take into consideration, and oftentimes why we go with the 10% down Fannie instead of a DSCR. But the more investing we're doing and the more we're looking to operate as a business, as an investor, that's where I have seen the DSCR definitely has some advantages for sure. So yeah, thanks definitely for highlighting it. I think the prepayment penalty was something that I hadn't taken into consideration. So that was new to me, Chris, as well as the interest, the ARM, that interest only payment. That's very intriguing as well, especially if the strategy is going to be the lowest monthly payment. So that's very, very intriguing. I do have a few questions that came through. Do you mind if we pause and get a couple questions going? Absolutely. Hi, Carolyn. Thank you so much for joining us. Alex, I see you. Hello, my friend. It says, Carolyn asks, do you have any portfolio loan options for 10% to 15% non-warrantable condos?
Great question. Non-warrantable condos. We do not have any loan products available for non-warrantable condos at 15% down. We do finance non-warrantables, but the minimum down payment requirement on a non-warrantable condo is 25%.
Gotcha. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking that, Carolyn. And Caroline, if you wouldn't mind letting us know in the chat, what else have you been seeing out there? Because since you're specific with the 10 to 15% down, I assume you're seeing higher percentages down. So thanks for asking that question. Hi, Melissa. Welcome to the party. So Melissa says, what is the repayment penalty for refinancing within 5 years if no additional principal payments are made?
So if you were to refinance within that 5-year prepayment penalty, that would be considered an additional principal payment, right? Because you have a schedule, you have an amortization schedule of principal and interest payments. Anything made in addition to those scheduled payments, whether it be by, principal reduction, refinance, or sale of house, and which in turn pays off the loan, those would be considered additional principal payments. So it'd be 5% of whatever that amount is.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that. Our next question comes from Heather. Heather says, do you have business loans for people that have not owned STR for a year yet?
Yes, we do. So in a situation where the individual does not have a 1-year history of owning and operating short-term rentals, we still provide financing. What we do in that situation is, instead of using short-term rental income to satisfy the 1-to-1 ratio, we will use long-term rental income to satisfy the 1-to-1 ratio. You can be a first-time investor when using the DSCR loan and using long-term rental income to satisfy the 1-to-1 ratio.
Awesome. Our next question comes from Katie. Katie, I'm so happy to see you. She asks, what happens if the long-term rental income that comes back from the appraiser is not sufficient to qualify for the loan?
Great question.
That's a great question that connects with the previous question, right?
Yes, it is. That's a great question. So in that circumstance, if the rental survey comes back lesser than the 1-to-1 ratio, we can still do the loan. What happens is there's going to be a LTV adjustment, and there's going to be an increase in the interest rate, right? The LTV then changes to a minimum on a purchase of 25% down, and the interest rate goes up by 0.5%. Now, what I'll tell you between us and or between this audience and the fence post is you can negotiate on the rate increase when it does not meet the 1-to-1 ratio. All lenders out there have room in their loan product to eat that increase in interest rate, which we will do. We can't do anything about the loan to value restriction. It will change to minimum 25% down if the subject property does not debt service. And most lenders will charge an increase in rate, but we at the lender, for the time being, we will eat that rate.
Okay, so I want us to break this down a little bit because this is something that's probably going to occur from time to time. So say, for instance, a property as a short-term rental would generate, for round numbers, 100K per year, okay? It meets all the qualifications, B minus, B plus, A market. As a short-term rental, it generates 100K per year. However, if you are not operating as a host for a year or more, then that short-term rental income is not going to be applicable for that particular situation. So at that time, Chris's team will look to see, okay, well, what would it generate as a long-term rental? So say as a long-term rental, it generates, or it's projected to generate, a gross revenue of half of that, which we know that that's possible, or even less than half, right? So let's just say 50K per year. So Chris, say could you give us some numbers? Like, what would that mean for that particular loan at that point? So at 50K is what it would generate. The house we're buying it for 300K, for instance. So where are we? Tell us like we're 5, Chris.
So $50,000 a year divided by 12, that's approximately $4,000 a month, right, in rental income. You're buying a house at 300,000. Let's say you're doing 15% down. Your rate's going to be 5.125 to 5.5%. Your principal, interest, taxes, insurance on that is probably going to be somewhere in the 2,000 range. So you're going to cover at that point, but we want to have the conversation under the assumption that it doesn't cover, right? That's what we really want to talk about.
So say we're generating 10,000 a year. Let's do 10,000 then.
Yeah. So we want to have the conversation in that context. When the property does not generate enough rental income to cover the mortgage payments, we can still do the loan, but there's going to be a change to the loan, to the down payment requirement, and there's going to be a change to the interest rate, right? Let's say you're doing 20% down. You now have to do 25% down, and you have an increase in interest rate. Now, what I was saying earlier is every lender out there has room to eat that. And I would suggest that you push hard on that and have them eat some or all of that rate increase. The typical rate increase in that situation is 0.5%, but there's definitely room for them to eat that in that situation. So the loan can still be done, right? If you're in that bucket and you're adamant about, moving forward on this transaction, and it's not like you have to make it a long-term rental. You can close on the loan and certainly make it a long-term rental, and there is a solution there. So that's the context or the answer to that specific scenario.
So Chris, would there be any situation where it would be a 30% down? So minimum of 25% down. What would be a scenario where you would want a 30% down, or am I reaching too far there?
The only situation that would apply for a 30% down payment is when the subject property is considered rural, right? What makes a property rural? It might be that subject property is on 12 acres, right? And the proximity of the subject property to municipal services like fire, police, grocery stores, water services, things that are, that are going to be a reasonable distance away from the subject property might deem that as rural. So that is the only circumstance that has a loan or an LTV restriction, meaning greater down payment, is when the subject property is rural.
Awesome. Awesome. The questions are flooding in, Chris. So I do appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for asking that question, guys. Next question. I may have missed this. You haven't missed anything, Annette. You are in the right place at the right time, my friend. She says, but what's the qualification for someone with no W-2? So, this is the great resignation, Chris. A lot of people, ditching that W-2. We're starting our side hustles and we're doing our thing. So what is the qualifications for someone with no W-2?
Well, great question. This kind of ties into when might a DSCR loan make sense for you, right? What circumstance dictates necessity of a DSCR loan? Because the DSCR loan does not look at your personal income or employment to qualify, it doesn't matter that you do not have a W-2. It doesn't matter that you don't have income, because that income is not being considered in the ability to repay the loan. The ability to repay the loan is purely predicated off the subject property's rent potential.
Nice, nice. So that's awesome. And I hope that offered you some insight. Okay, Melissa, thank you for joining us. So Melissa asked, can you use a piggyback second in conjunction with a DSCR loan? Do you know what she's talking about? Melissa, I don't know. I don't think I know. Okay, Chris knows what you're talking about. I don't think I know what you're talking about.
So what Melissa's asking there is, can you do a first and second loan combo, right? And a lot of people will use a first and second loan combo when they're buying, let's say they're buying a property at 1.5 million, right? And the conforming loan amount is in the low 600,000s. I believe actually Jeff Chisholm educated on that recently, right? So you want to use a Fannie Mae 30-year fixed loan, but the loan amount caps out in the low 600s and you're buying a property at $1 million. You don't want to put in the difference of approximately 400,000, so you can get a second mortgage to help cover the remainder of the loan balance that you need. Now, second mortgage combos, on investment properties, the highest you're going to see is an 80% combined loan to value. So between the first mortgage and the second mortgage, the combined loan amount cannot be greater than 80% of the value of the property. Now, you can do that on a DSCR loan, right? Would that strategy make sense? Not likely, right? Because at the end of the day, the DSCR loan, we can go up to a $1.5 million loan amount when doing as little as 15% down. We can go up to a $3 million loan amount when doing as much as 20% down. So that strategy of first and second combos to get to the higher loan amounts when using conforming loan limits doesn't really apply to DSCR. It does allow for piggybacks, but the strategy doesn't really play the same way. But it's a great question.
Got it. Yeah, thank you for asking that question, Melissa. You got our wheels turning there. Hi, Printessa. Thank you for joining us today. Printessa said, does DSCR loans take into consideration the STR income? Do we need to have at least 2 years of STR income?
It takes you, okay, you only need 1 year of STR ownership operating, and we will take into consideration the short-term rental income on the subject property as long as you have a 1-year history of owning and operating short-term rentals.
Awesome. I hope that offered you value, Printessa. Hey there, Deanna. I did see you. I said hello. So Annette asks, when does the STR operation start? The start of the business or the start of your listing? So what are you taking into consideration in terms of that 1 year? When does that clock start on the 1 year? Tell us, Chris.
It starts from the time that the property was listed. So if you apply for a loan with us and we're going to verify your history as a short-term rental operator, we're going to ask for 2 things from you. We're going to ask for your transaction history over the last year from your preferred hosting platform. So whether that's Airbnb, VRBO, or any of these new technologies that people are using for direct bookings, we're going to want to see a transaction summary over the most recent 12 months that shows activity. And then we're also going to want a printout of your profile as a host, right? Because there's going to be a timestamp on your profile that says hosting since, right? April of 2019. So between that printout of your profile and the transaction summary history, we can satisfy the condition of the 1-year ownership operating.
Awesome. I hope that was clear. Annette, what a great question. Thank you. Next question. Hi, Angela. I'm so happy to see you too. It said, Angela is asking, realtors need a pre-approval letter when you put an offer for a property. How does that work with DSCR loans?
Another great question. So it's actually, this is the one thing that I really stand by as being much easier to pre-qualify for a DSCR loan as compared to a conventional loan. I'll explain why. With a DSCR loan, I can, or one of my mortgage analysts can have a 15-minute phone call with the client and determine whether or not they're pre-qualified. Because on that call, we're going to want to talk about really a few things: assets and credit. Now, I can ask the question, and assuming that when we pull the credit report, everything that we discussed is true and accurate, but as long as the individual doesn't have any foreclosures, bankruptcies, short sales, loan modifications, mortgage forbearances, or late mortgage payments in their history, you check that box off, okay? And I don't even need to pull your credit in order to issue the pre-qual. We're just under the understanding that if in fact that information changes when I do pull credit, we have to have a conversation. The other portion that we really need to discuss is the assets, right? Where are the assets for the down payment coming from? Are they coming from a checking and savings account? Or is this money, mattress money is a term we use in the lending industry. And mattress money would be cash in a safe at home, money that we can't document necessarily where it came from. We operate under the Patriot Act. So as a lender, when lending money, we have to verify that the funds for the down payment are coming from a legitimate source. So it's really a conversation about your credit profile and the assets for the down payment that with a conversation on the phone and an understanding, we can issue a pre-qual letter without doing a hard credit pull, right? Assuming that the information we discussed is true and accurate. Now, everything at that point then shifts the focus to the subject property. We want to make the approval of the loan is going to be contingent on the rental income potential on the subject property. So again, if you want a pre-qualification letter, I would say click on the link that I'll post in the Facebook group later, schedule a one-on-one with one of our mortgage analysts, go through the questions. They will provide you not only a pre-qualification letter, but they're going to provide you estimates. I think estimates is very, 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 very important. I mean, it goes without being said, but we'll deliver a pre-qual letter in the estimates, and the estimates are going to break out all the different loan term options that are available to you, the total cash to close on the scenario that we've discussed with you, and it's going to break out all the different fees that you can expect to see on your loan transaction, whether those are appraisal fees, title and escrow fees, transfer taxes, everything that is involved in that.
Well, I didn't know that. So Angela, thank you so much for asking that question. I did not realize how simplified it was to get that pre-approval for a DSCR loan. And Angela does bring up a great point. It's really important to have your ducks in a row when you're working with realtors because the market is so competitive, right? So by the time the property gets to you, they want to know if you're ready to put in an offer, and having that pre-approval kind of puts a little bit of a confidence in that seller that, you know, the offer is going to be a solid one. So great question. Thank you, Angela. Just wanted to welcome a few new people that joined us. Hi, Adrian. Welcome, welcome. It says you're a newbie here. Welcome to the party. I so appreciate you. And you're getting a lot of thank yous, Chris, a lot of appreciation in here. Melissa says, thank you so much for answering. Printessa says, thank you, thank you. You are welcome, my friend. And I appreciate the appreciation because Chris is taking time out, probably from dinner. Well, it's nice and sunny by you. Hey, Chris, where are you, by the way?
Southern California. So I'm late afternoon. I'm about it's that sunset time of day, so it's still pretty nice out here.
Really nice. We just had Taco Tuesday, so dinner is about wrapped up around these parts. I'm in the Metro Atlanta, well, south of Metro Atlanta area. So all the way on the East Coast, you're all the way on the West Coast. I absolutely love it. Guys, I so appreciate you joining us tonight. So Chris, what's the next thing you wanted to discuss with us as we wait for more questions to roll on in?
I think the last thing I really had on my list that I want to discuss is how to teach people to shop their lending services, right? I think, you know, I get my greatest satisfaction out of sharing good, valuable information that allows people to make informed decisions. And obviously, I'd like to do loans for everyone, but I want it to be because we are the best option available. Now, not enough people shop their lending services, right? And if people did a little bit more shopping, they would save themselves a lot of money. And how do you shop it, right? When working with a lender, I just like any due diligence, I think minimum 2. If you've got the time to vet 3, do 3. And it's pretty simple. And when you're going through your process and you're going to determine who you're going to get your financing with, that's at the beginning portion of your journey. All right. You contact the lender. We discuss your terms. We put our best available terms in writing. You take those terms and you send them to this guy or this gal and say, hey, I'm shopping this type of loan product. What can you do for me? Okay. That simple little step in your process, or adding that to your due diligence, is going to save you money, right? Because if you come to lender XYZ, right, or I'll just use XYZ. If you go to lender XYZ and you just shop with them and then they provide you their rate and terms, you're not going to know whether or not those are the best available terms. Now, when shopping DSCR loans specifically, one thing I'll tell you is that 90% of the DSCR loans that are funded are done so through brokers, right? I'm a direct lender. What's the difference? A broker is someone that originates your loan and then they'll send it in to the lender and say, hey, can you fund this loan for me? All right, we'll underwrite the loan and we'll fund the loan. But in order for the broker to be compensated, they must charge you fee. That's how the broker makes their money in this industry, right? Now, if you go to the lender, a direct lender like us, who's one of the very few outlets out there that are offering DSCR loans directly to the consumer, you cut out the middleman, right? There is no broker. There is still the same level of service and competency being provided. In some cases, I could argue much more, because we have control over our processes. These are my underwriters, these are my processors, these are my funders. So I have the ability to manipulate the timeline based off of priority or circumstances, where a broker is on the outside looking in. They can't manipulate timelines, circumstances based off of priority, okay? And again, by working directly with us, we're able to cut our fee. We charge half a point to certain groups like this, as where your broker on a DSCR loan is charging no less than 1 point, in most cases 2 points, right? So if you're doing a loan, you need a $400,000 loan on a DSCR product, and you come to the lender and we're charging half a point origination, we're charging $2,000 to facilitate the transaction. If you were to shop that same service with a broker, and let's just say they're charging 1.5 points, you're paying $6,000. That's a $4,000 delta between the two, right? That goes a long way, right? This is a business that you're investing in. You furnish the property, you need reserves, you're going to need marketing budget if you're doing direct booking advertising. At the end of the day, it's your money. Keep it. I don't care what you spend it on. Keep it, shop it. And I think that's the biggest message I want to communicate. There's a lot of different services out there. There's a lot of good lenders. There's a lot of bad lenders. People like Jeff Chisholm, I consider him a true professional of his craft, right? He really dove into the Fannie Mae second home product and educated himself on how to be most effective when originating that loan product. And Jeff works for North Point Bank, which is a direct lender, right? So for that, he is going to be, in my opinion, at this moment in time, probably your best resource for a Fannie Mae second home mortgage. DSCR is a different, I will say that we are the best. Now, on any given day, we might see a situation where this lender offers 1/8% better on the interest rate. I take that personally, send it to me, and I'm going to beat it on principle, right? And that is because I know where we're at on these DSCR loan products, and this is a space that I want to own and operate and dominate. And if that means I have to cut margin to make it happen, then I'm going to do it. So my message is shop your lenders, make them compete for your business. Now, reputation, facilitation, and product goes a long way. So at the end of the day, it's not always, that 1/8 of an interest rate that they're offering, because that person might not have a lot of experience in DSCR originations, and it's going to be a very laborious transaction. And at the end of the day, that's a decision you got to make if you want to go through those labor pains and get the 1/8 of a percent better or not. I think here at the lender, I think we do a fantastic job of originating and funding the DSCR loan products. This is our niche. This is what we specialize in. So I think, again, shop your lenders, send any of your DSCR quotes directly to me. You can contact me through Facebook. I'll give you my email. You can shoot it over, and we're going to respond with our best offering. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to be beat when it comes to DSCR. But by all means, still shop me. Keep me honest. Keep every lender that you work with honest, and really remember that you're the client at the end of the day. Okay. You're the client, money's cheap right now, services fairly inexpensive relative to the, the end game. But by all means, really push the agenda when speaking with your lending partners.
I absolutely love it. And that's why we invited you here today, Chris. We wanted to equip everyone in the group with someone who not only offers an amazing product, right, an amazing option, but someone who has the heart of a teacher. And that's really what gave me a lot of synergy when we first connected, was the fact that you wanted to talk strategy. You wanted to kind of open our minds to the aspects of this product and the aspects of shopping our mortgage. And it's something that I truly, truly appreciate. And I appreciate you, nodding, giving a nod to Jeff Chisholm. He was our speaker last week. So guys, funding is a question that I keep getting asked over and over and over again. This is the season 2022. Everyone's coming in hot. Everyone's ready. They want to purchase a property, but funding is the piece, and it's that puzzle piece, and it's that question that everyone is having. So my goal is to educate you, or provide the resources that will educate you on what is out there. So if you didn't catch last week's live training, check it out. It should be in the guide section. If not, just let me know and then I will share it with you. So last week we talked about second home loans, which is more conventional. This week we're talking about DSCR loans. And so this is the two-part series that we wanted to bring to you in order to keep you informed with the top players in the industry. And I know Chris has closed an astra, and we didn't even talk numbers. Chris, how many loans have you closed in the last year or so? How many dollars was it? I mean, I saw it was like in the high seven figures.
In 2021, we did 1 billion in non-QM loan product. Of that non-QM loan product, about 60% was the DSCR. So it was about 600 million in DSCR loan funding. Yeah.
So Chris closes. If you're wondering, has he closed any loans before? Yeah, he's closed some loans. So he definitely knows what he's doing. And he is actually working with some of the students in our mastermind. And I look forward to having you, Chris. I know we're scheduled this Thursday in our coaching, in our Luxury Short-Term Rental Academy coaching, to get some specific questions answered. And I know that you have offered to connect with anyone on this live who has questions and who wants to see whether or not they can get qualified to kind of move that needle forward. So if you have a 90-day goal, and I talk about this all the time, what's your goal in 90 days? If you have a 90-day goal to close on that short-term rental, let's see what it is that you need to get your ducks in a row to get that going. So definitely connect with Chris. And I know, Chris, you're going to share a link with our group that specifically identifies that the whoever's reaching out came from our group, to get them that 0.5% off for being a member of this group. I absolutely love that. And I thank you in advance for supporting our group in that way. And it looks like we do have one more question before we wrap up. Printessa, thank you for asking your next question. She's asking, is the DSCR loan taken into consideration in the personal DTI if we decide to do a second home loan later?
So when obtaining a DSCR loan, and you're taking it in an LLC, right? That's the key there. You have to take it in an LLC in order to be able to omit that debt from future debt to income ratios. Okay, let me break that down a little bit. When you have a loan that is in a business, right, you're going to sign a personal guarantee on this loan, but it is a business purpose loan. We can omit that debt from your future debt to income ratio when applying for, say, a second home mortgage, or even your next primary residence mortgage, right? Now, we need to also, in order to omit that debt, see 12 consecutive payments made on that debt from the business account. So what you want to do, set it up and close in an LLC, open up a bank account under that business. All payments on that mortgage are made from that bank account, that business bank account, right? Once you've done 12 consecutive payments, that debt is no longer factored against you in your debt to income ratio when qualifying for a Fannie Mae conventional loan, whether it be second home mortgage or primary residence mortgage.
Ooh, that was so good. Awesome question. Thank you for asking that, Princessa, because that's part of the strategy, right, Chris? How do we onboard more homes that will not pretty much ding our DTI? So that's always the unicorn. And so
Yeah.
that right there, you just gave us a whole lot of gems and you gave us the secret sauce. So I absolutely appreciate it. We do have a couple more questions. Angela, no, you did not miss this. And this is something that I hadn't asked. So Chris, do you lend in all states? Where do you lend or where do you not lend?
Great question. It's easier to say the states that we do not lend in versus the ones we do. So the states that we do not lend in: South Dakota, North Dakota, New Mexico, Utah, Nevada, Alaska.
Got it. Got it. Okay, awesome. Very, very helpful. Oh my goodness. I love it. Thank you so much, Chris. Any final questions? Hey, Megan, I see you just joining us. I was expecting you here a little earlier. Have you been here with us? Look, I'm going to start taking attendance. Oh my goodness. Okay. Can you please state what type of property qualifies for DSCR again? Okay, so a few questions are just kind of coming in at the back end. There's like a time delay, so I apologize. So Annette is asking, can you please state what type of property qualifies for DSCR again?
Yes, the properties eligible for DSCR financing is a single family residence, condo, townhome, duplex, triplex, or quadplex.
Awesome, awesome. Okay. Oh, okay, Megan, my apologies. She goes, yeah, I've been here for a while. And then I put you out there. Awesome. So thank you for that. So I don't know if it's ready for public consumption, but I know you're working on a special project as well, Chris. Is that a secret or are you allowed to say?
No, I can
Okay.
comment on that. So we're working on our next iteration of the DSCR loan product, and that is for 5 to 8 unit properties, also mixed use properties. So that might be a property that on the lower level is a commercial space that has retail operations called a coffee shop or snowboard ski rentals. And then on the top, it might have residential, property, right? Whether it be long-term or short-term rental. That project is something that we're working on. We expect to roll it out by the end of the first quarter. I'll have a lot more information on that in the coming weeks, and as soon as it's ready, you'll see me posting a lot of activity and information on that loan program for the 5 to 8 unit product.
Yeah, and that's really interesting to me. So guys, a couple of things in the comments. If you found value from our talk tonight, from all of the Q&A, from all of the information that Chris has shared, type in value in the comments, because when he comes back and he shares his information, I want him to know how much you appreciate, because I know a lot of you are watching. And then the second question I have for you, I was telling Chris a little bit earlier, I would totally be interested in a small boutique hotel, maybe a 7 or 8 bedroom, oceanfront, something like that. If you would appreciate something like a 5 to 8 unit or mixed use property type of loan, add your feedback so Chris can have an idea of what the demand would be for something like that. What do you guys think? I'm all for it. Oh, and we have company. Hi, Chris. Who is this? Hey there. Is that your
My daughter,
VP?
yeah.
The vice president of the lender?
That's right. That's the real boss.
That is the real boss. I absolutely love it. Oh, one more question. I'm bad at acronyms, right, Heather? Me too. Heather asks, what does DSCR stand for again?
Debt service coverage ratio.
Debt service coverage ratio. Awesome. All right, guys. So any final questions before we let Chris go? Oh, Chris, I thought this was so awesome, right?
Yeah, no, I was really looking forward to this one. I've been looking forward to this one for about 2 weeks now.
Yay.
I do love sharing the information. I do enjoy working with people that are starting their journey or, on their 5th iteration of investing. So please use me as a resource. I'll post the links to our calendar for myself and my mortgage analyst for conversations about your scenario specifically. I'll post some information to our website with links to AirDNA and other information on our loan products. And you can always reach out to me directly on Facebook Messenger as well.
Awesome. So guys, there you have it. We have Chris Ledwidge from The Lender. He is a part of our Facebook group here. I know that I try to keep these lives around 30 minutes. I haven't been successful at that at all. But folks, this is what we do, people. We are here to help busy professionals looking to get started on their first or second short-term rentals. So we've helped over 30 individuals get started this year. If you would like more details, definitely ping me, reach out to me in the chat, reach out to me in DM, and we will get someone to reach out to you. We're looking for just a few more members, those who are serious and ready to get started. And Chris, I look forward to having you in our small group over the next couple of weeks, going over scenarios, going over strategies, and really setting our expectations, right? On the good, the bad, and the ugly in terms of the lending strategies, because ultimately what we want is to be able to close. And so what are the, bottlenecks, roadblocks that you have seen so that we can start getting ourselves geared up, because we all have these goals in 90 days to get our next or a couple of units. So definitely looking forward to seeing you in our group this Thursday. So guys, with that being said, I hope you are all inspired. Just stay tuned. Next week, we are going to have actually Ella, and I can't pronounce her last name. I'm working on it. Ella from Auto Host. She is going to be talking to us about guest screening. She is the co-founder of a program called Auto Host, and you wouldn't believe the stories that she has up her sleeve, and just giving us some confidence on what are some triggers, what are some red flags when we are screening our guests, what are some things that we can do, and what are some things that we can look at the technology to provide. So looking forward to connecting with you guys. Again, hope you're inspired, and see you next week. Bye-bye for now.
See you, everyone. Thanks for the time today.